Okay, I'm going to do the primary source analysis of the from Earl of Cromer, Why Britain Acquired Egypt in 1882. I believe it is a narrative source because it describes what the Earl of Cromer says happened during Britain's invasion of Egypt in 1882. So who is the author? Earl of Cromer was a British consul general in Egypt. He was assigned that position by the Queen of England at the time. Now, the purpose of this text is to explain why Britain invaded Egypt, um, and the types of events are selected from the text was the Britain invasion of Egypt and why it was necessary in the eyes of the British. I believe some notable absences were the viewpoints of the Turkish, French, and the Italian point of view of the invasion of, or the occupation or invasion, whichever one you go with Britain to England, or Britain to Egypt. So what's the basis of the author's knowledge? Well, the author, like I said before, was the leader of Egypt during the time of the occupation. During the text, the author uses first-hand evidence based on his assumptions of what happened, and we can assume that his first-hand evidence is correct, because, like I said, he was the leader. A logical interference that the author uses during the text is that he guides the reader to assume that Britain was the only viable choice to invade and occupy Egypt. The author categorizes his text by giving reasons of why Britain decided to invade and occupy Egypt. Human groups are categorized in his text as either your Europeans, Asians, Egyptians, or you're categorized by your religion. I believe that the author assumes that Europeans are the upper class because he made I'm just going to quote it, European capital to a large extent has been sunk into the country. So meaning, I assume that he says that Europeans are the only ones with capital in this time, and they've already invested a lot into Egypt. Now this leads me to assume that that the Europeans in Egypt are wealthier than the other types of people in the region. Now the author also categorizes the locals, or the previous commanders or agitators of Egypt, as a rabbi, Arabi, and his co-adjudicators, and the sheikhs of El Azir and Tewikfi Pashwa. He goes to say that the second part, the sheikhs and Tewik Pashwa, were good options to lead Egypt due to their European education and whatnot, but unfortunately their power did not last. That's what I get from the text. A basic assumption that the author makes about the human nature at this time is that, well, he says, since Egypt has been ruled before, they will not mind that it will be ruled by Britain. He gives examples, and he states that in the past history that Egypt has been subjugated between Persians, Circassians, Ottomans, Turks, Greeks, Romans, Arabs of Arabia, and Baghdad. So he goes on, he makes this assumption that the locals are just used to being ruled in Egypt. Now, the author intends to formally say that Britain was right to invade Egypt because it was the only way to save Egypt from itself. What I get from that is that he's saying that, well, he gives evidence that Britain was right in the invasion, because he believes that other countries in the area would not have given Egypt its best option to survive. The author intends to formally say that Britain was right to invade Egypt because it was the only way to save it from itself. That's what I just read. Sorry. So how can we use this type of source to learn about society that produced it? We learned about the logical reasons of why Britain, the country of Britain, invaded another. It was mostly not due for its own benefit, but due because it was blocking another country, such as the Ottoman Empire, Italy, or France. And that concludes the video portion of the source number 2. Thank you.